None of the following should be taken as business, legal, or tax advice.
It's a mix. It's like Babylonian Tower, ex-burger flippers who became millionaires on meme coins. My first cycle started with a beer, so that kind of gives you an ease of mind. If it's good enough to take a screenshot, it's good enough to cash out. Embrace the cringe. The crypto is the perfect, space to do that. Always iterate, always try new things. If you have an idea, don't keep it in your head.
Roman, welcome. Really welcome. We're glad to have you on our podcast. And I suggest we just start simple. Tell us a bit about yourself, what you're currently working on. And from the brief that guys gave me, one could say you're a product strategist, a growth architect. Some saying that you're enjoying diving in most complex corners of the Web3, but who you are, Roman, as a person, just in a few words, tell us more about your story.
Gladly, thanks for asking. I started my career in Web 2, doing a lot of digital around like telecom and subscription-based services, as well as apps. Ended up in crypto, working with Rarible NFT marketplace. It was like a fall of the cycle. I joined April 2022. And it was the boiling point when the narrative kind of started to outdie, the NFT one at least. I was looking around at the market, at the time and was getting into the whole crypto scene. It's very different from, classic IT and classic environment you can find yourself in. So
right.
Took me a while. I was kind of narrowing down the things I'm interested in. In Web3, we have like so many niches and narratives, they live or die, like the new ones coming up every day. So it's all about, what you're personally interested in. So I found out that for me, technology is like a pivot point for choosing what to work with. So I spent like around a year with ZK Tech. We were doing like ZK TLS with Reclaim Protocol. It's a YC-backed startup. It was a pure technology, nothing on top of that. So the product kind of was born from scratch, and guys are still iterating with it. Funnily enough, they kind of got back into the Web2 space, classic digital, to sell, this product. Around 2 years by now, I joined Mellow Protocol, DeFi app that originally was the liquidity management tool that is still live, okay. still used by Aave and Velo. So right now we're working on institutional vaults. It started as a kind of risk-taking project, but right now it's much broader. So in just a few words, we allow to connect asset managers with retail and institutional LPs. And on the other hand, we provide them with the safe rails for working with any app on Ethereum chain and EVMs. So from most well-known ones such as Aave and Morpho to the smallest and newest ones, it can be integrated like within a day, and that provides safety, transparency, and ease of mind, because as an LP, you can at all times check. Let's say, what's underneath the vault, what contracts are allowed to be interacted with, what are the limits, who owns the keys, what are the setups. It's all transparent. It's not a wallet. It's basically on-chain contract Lego that is composed based on the needs of the vault of the creator, the asset manager.
I love the Lego example.
Yeah, it's very modular. So you can imagine, like, vaults kind of became a narrative of its own, right? We have a Vault Summit. Everyone is doing vaults of different kinds. I would say you wouldn't find like two same products in this niche. Everyone has their own approach. But in reality, like for Mellow, the vault is 20, 30 smart contracts on chain. Everything is regulated and monitored there, managed by Multisig. So we find this approach maybe not the easiest one, but far more efficient and transparent, and it's kind of close to the ethos of crypto. When everything is on chain, everything leaves a mark.
Right.
I'm doing product. So as you mentioned, product strategist. I'm more of a growth guy from the side of the product, so I always was working with product one way or another. Would it be working in marketing, like funnels for new user acquisition? That was a significant part of my career for a long time. Paid channels, so-called performance marketing, TikTok, Facebook, Meta, Google, and everything else, to A/B tests on the product side, to growing certain segments of the product, to whatever business needs actually. That all I think that all requires still a very deep understanding of the product you're working with, no matter what is the niche. And my CV looks kind of hectic with all those things and companies there and like all those different niches of the market, but I see still a straight line there. So in brief, that's how I kind of get here where I am right now with Mellow.
Exactly. Roman, I mean, I have huge amount of questions based on what you just mentioned, but let's think back in the days. So I already know that you started around, I'm talking about starting your crypto journey around 2020. Arguably the most entertaining, I would say, period possible. So what actually pulled you in? You just enjoyed the people, ideology, maybe like the tech, or you just catch this FOMO and like, okay, I need to be in crypto now?
I was watching crypto over, since 2015, 16, when the Bitcoin first started to grow. Like a lot of my friends were working around that, and some of them like were doing mining. I was, very skeptical, and I still am, because many products during almost all the cycles, they are vapor. So I think still they don't have fundamental value. Even the most hyped ones, when you're starting to dig around and asking questions, no one can explain, why that's needed. So yeah, you're absolutely on point. Mentioning people, that was hooked me actually. I was very skeptical before joining Rarible, but after talking to the founders, looking into investors, speaking with like my future to be colleagues, most brilliant people. I think this industry is a mix. It's like Babylonian Tower, ex-burger flippers who became millionaires on meme coins, and PhDs and philosophers and lawyers and people of all the backgrounds, joined here to build something more or less together. And since then, I wasn't looking back to get out of crypto actually, because I'm really, really enjoying the setup and ability to talk with the brightest people, I'd say.
Exactly.
About the timing, so I joined in 2022 when, as I mentioned, all the fun was going down. So my first cycle started with a beer. So that kind of gives you an ease of mind. I never saw a good side of crypto, those 100x's coming in. So nothing to worry about. It was like as bad as it was for me from the start. So when the bull market came in, I was quite happy and excited. Had to wait for it for a few years, but it is what it is.
Exactly. So the tough times create strong people. The easy times create the weak ones, and it's like a circle and they're going on. But definitely. So, and I'm glad that you actually pointed out, because it's super important. Most people in crypto, they just follow one track. Like they start with trading, then maybe DeFi, start learning about the infrastructure, and you went through like completely three different worlds. Starting with Rarible, with the NFT marketplace, then it's like Reclaim, Identity, sorry, and now it's Mellow, basically like a yield infrastructure.
Yeah.
What was that a plan, or did you just keep chasing whatever felt interesting, whatever felt amazing, or like, okay, it's going to be like the big new tech out there and I want to tap in? So tell me more about this.
I would say that wasn't pre-planned 100%, but it all were careful coincidences. People you met during the conferences, talks you have, on the after parties, looking into the technologies yourself. Personally, like with ZK, let's start with Rarible actually. So that was an incredible, and still is an incredible brand in terms of power to attract people, to communicate within the narrative. The first time I worked with such a strong case of identity of the product. So that was something new and interesting to me. And I had like great experience working with retail users on en masse. So furbishing those funnels and like user acquisition specific parts of the product, that was interesting. Then I really liked the ZK part because I always was interested in let's say broader term identity of the user. It's not specifically privacy per se. I think that privacy includes a disclosure, like what you want to show. So working with performance marketing, it gives you a great insight in how it works, how the data composes, what's collected, what's scary and what's not. Because many people superficially they think that if there is like a Google Analytics tracker or amplitude, it's bad you're being like monitored and tracked. In reality, it's not always the case. ZK is really interesting. It's still a very new tech, I would say. We're still yet to see world scale implementation, and I definitely
enormous
think
use cases.
It's gonna happen because with ZK, it has enormous fundamental value, from privacy to being able to extract certain data points which you couldn't before. Like, let's say you can share your banking balance with a person, staying anonymous, not showing the bank name or any other information, just the balance. And the person on the other side will be sure that it's factual, that he can trust this data. So it kind of like digital notary stamps, but trustless in a way. And that opens a lot of opportunities for classical markets, in terms of like compliance or proofs or whatever. It can be implemented to almost every business. Then when the product was developed enough to be sold, kind of became a little stale in terms of it was just like scaling the presence on the market. And I had a chance to talk with the Mellow team, and we're getting back and forth like for a few months, talking with Nick, the founder. And I was, again, it's about the people. I was charmed by the team, brilliant minds, and enjoyed them ever since for 2 years. I'm working on DeFi, which started as I would say, kind of retail product, farming of points for Symbiotic and later for Eigenlayer. But we ended up, at least right now, we're working more with institutional. So it's like B2B, which is different. Yeah, but those were all curated opportunities, I would say.
Exactly, Roman. And you mentioned that you met with most of the guys during the conferences. So are you a big conference guy? What was the last one?
I'm trying to get in touch. So lately, I would say that conferences became very segmented. So if you're doing like meme coins, you're gonna go to one thing. If you're doing institutional stables, you're going there. And I'm just trying to keep in touch with the industry. That's a great way to do that. There are like a few events across the year that I like kind of must visit. Definitely Dev Connect every year. That's 100% the must. And ECC and some other like local ones. If something is around, I'm always happy to tag along.
Exactly. I mean, same for me. If you're trying to work in industry, it's one thing. If you're trying to really learn more about the industry and understand like what people are talking about, and basically understand the vibe, you need to be in there, in place, talking to and meeting new people. Definitely.
That's a great point, like about the vibe, because the sentiment in crypto Twitter is very different at times from what people actually discuss on the ground, and you need to check those things along to make sure you understand what's actually going on.
Exactly. Even if it's a bear market going on, Twitter definitely can convince you in absolutely opposite if the guys on Twitter want it. So yeah, I mean, it's a slightly different story. Now, Roman, so I also wanted to talk a bit about the Rarible. So you led growth in there. I'm curious because I never let go, and most of our listeners and viewers too. So, what was the hardest part? Because we're talking here scaling, retention, surviving, especially in the moment when the NFTs supposedly started dying. And by the way, did they actually die, or you think it's going to be reborn like Phoenix, or something else going to happen?
Yeah, the technology, can never die. So NFTs are here to stay, but the narrative we saw a few years back is definitely that. It's not. I don't think it's coming back in the form or shape that was before, because ultimately we found, as a like joint crypto Twitter, we found that meme coins serving the same goal, and they're like more convenient, they're faster, and it's transactionally easier. It's just like easier to work with. I think most NFT collections were basically glorified meme coins of now, with just like a much longer cycles of life of years. I think that we're definitely gonna see something, because like non-fungible tokens are a great idea in its own. So, but it just need to be properly developed further. They're gonna be used as almost all other pieces, I think, under the hood. So it's not gonna be something public. For the hardest part, I would say that retention and surviving is the same thing on a
All right.
market that's shrinking down. For me personally, it was a discovery that aggregation is killing smaller markets, definitely. Because aggregation for NFTs became a big thing when I joined, around like half a year later after I joined, actually. So I saw before and after. When everything is aggregated, the biggest player already gets the biggest cut, because most of the supply is coming from his side, and you're not getting any percentages, and you have to choose: either you're cutting off all those competitors basically, which are operating through your platform and losing the users, or you're trying to kind of tax it and like put some fees on top, and that's also very suboptimal, because people will just gonna leave to the original platform. They're gonna go to other marketplaces that don't have these fees. Experienced users, at least, I mean. The pie was getting smaller. Everyone wanted to keep the same piece. That was the hardest part. On the other hand, working with like retail users and coming up with new ways to present them with new products was quite easy, because the attention already was there. So we had this strong voice across the industry that allowed us to continue. Rarible at the end survived for a few more years before being sold in its original form as a B2B business, mostly, because the guys were working on the custom marketplaces for new chains, companies, and products. There were like a lot of commercial traction happening, which is rare and super cool, I think. I personally, like, one of the last thing I was able to do that was kind of the first stepping stone for this story was like a Jagermeister collaboration. So they had like a NFT collection with some Austrian artists, and at the same time you were buying an NFT with their art. It was like variation of monkeys again, I think, and bottled like officially bottled Jagermeister with the same art on the bottle itself. Which is exactly kind of the combination of like physical and digital everyone was exploring, discussing. That's a pretty cool stuff. I hope we'll see more of this if NFT is coming back.
I love how you actually transitioned towards if NFT coming back, and it's a good
one knows
one.
For
so
sure.
Exactly. And I want to tap, or I would say double tap on the point of this cycle. What actually the biggest lesson you learned from this NFT boom? And imagine if it's coming back again. Just imagine this. So what you definitely today will do again, and what you'll get rid of if the NFT cycle is booming again. So tell me more about the mistakes you made, or some big wins that you want to repeat maybe.
I would say definitely, like, that's the general advice for every cycle. Just try to take more calculated risks. Don't be, reckless, but you definitely need to take risks. Crypto doesn't work too well if you're doing like very safe stuff. You will get all the downside from that. And in terms of general understanding, I would say pay more attention to new narratives. Be less critical even if those are sounding stupid. And at the same time, don't fall in love with your bags. That's the classic. So if the market is dying, don't clutch to it. Don't keep your monkeys in hundreds in your wallet.
Just sell.
Sell. Find a good moment to sell, or at least sell something that will make you happy 1 year later, even if it all collapses. If it's good enough to take a screenshot, it's good enough to cash out.
I love this approach, mate. I love this approach. And also, let's talk about your current approaches, and I especially want to talk about the Mellow. So you are now working with Mellow Protocol. So imagine if I'm 5. Let's talk simple terms. What exactly do you do in there, and what's the real problem the protocol is actually solving? Because previously you mentioned you worked with one startup that is actually like YC, Y Combinator backed. So, I think the main kind of narrative of the YC, it's like, guys, you should solve the real problem. So tell me more about the Mellow.
Mellow solves quite a real problem. So as a product, I'm working on many, many different parts of the product, which are very different, from retail user interfaces and interactions UX to new parts of the website and app, and integrations with partners. And on the other side, it's a lot of work with our partners from the asset management arms of different companies. We're making bespoke UIs for them so they can manage capital with the help of visual cues, at least. How to describe the problem we're solving in a few words. For the longest time, DeFi was this kind of very complex niche, because if you want to do a loop, you need to find a proper assets in a proper loop. You need to make sure yourself that the contracts are safe, who audited them, for how long they're running, how many liquidity, what's the logic. Ideally, you want to check the code as well. Then you have a ton of monitorings on top of that, because if something's starting to collapse, you'll need to get out very, very soon. All other strategies, I'm describing typical looping example, but all other market strategies, they're not easier, to be honest. They require a lot of attention. And in the past few years, the yield was strongly commoditized. So there are no more hundreds and thousands % from simple loops, right? You're fighting for 10, 20% a year, which is really, really strong. But at the same time, you're spending so much time on that, and you're risking your personal capital. And Mellow, on this side of the problem, provides a solution that kind of aches to banking products of classic banks. So you have a page with a list of safe offers you can consider safe on a various level with the percentages. So you have a very condensed, combined view on what's gonna happen with the strategy, who gonna manage your money on your behalf, how much they're gonna take from it. It's a very simple choice to make with all those descriptions and with all those checks. It requires for the average user much less. So you can take part from the DeFi yield without sweating so much doing it yourself. That's ultimately what we're selling for the end users. And on the other hand, we're helping institutional players, those people who are coming with money into the industry or who are already here, to work with the tools in a familiar way. Because for institutional money, it's very different in terms of how you communicate with apps, how you discuss conditions, how you do operational stuff, just simple transfers. It's all require a very strict framework, combination of legal, product, operational stuff, communications. And at the same time, we're trying to provide a very familiar way to do that. So people who are coming from traditional finance, they will not be surprised with what they will see here. They will be able to start from the very get-go.
Roman, and a quick question. So the Mellow itself, it's product mostly for institutions, or regular users can participate as well? For example, I'm a retail user. Where do I fit into the ecosystem? Can I be a part of it?
I'd say that we shifted mostly to working with institutionals, and they're bringing their own, audience with them mostly, or not even institutions, but other projects like networks. They have their own audience. So Mellow becomes kind of a part of the distribution channel, but in essence, since it's all smart contracts, we aim at our partners having their own, funnels, because even familiar UI can increase the conversion rate into the deposit. So people are familiar with certain brands, companies, asset managers. They trust them. They see, this announcement of like a Mellow Vault happening. They can check us, all the security audits, like our history, DeFi, Llama, whatever. And by having this, reference from their familiar face, they will be able to, safely join it.
Got it. I mean, it's a good shift because I've been hearing for years that institutions are coming to DeFi. Have they actually arrived, or are they still standing on the door somewhere and observing, like cautiously?
No, they're here for quite some time. I'd say, we already have like Bitcoin ETFs and like Ethereum and Solana. It's never going back. Like you can unwind that, and for the longest time, that's right. Like institutionals were on the doorstep looking in, but there wasn't enough legislative clarity, and that's becoming much better now. For the past like few years, I would say there is no fear in joining the industry, and everyone wants to get a piece from that. So we're already seeing, the Hyperliquid is an incredible example of that, where you could, buy a SP500 for $3 from your wallet. That's something that wasn't available for, average financial user, even like average investor, probably in most of the countries, and it definitely wasn't allowed for the crypto users because it was like two different worlds. But we're seeing them aligning. So I think this process is already, very, very much happening right now. It's in a very active phase.
And it's actually a good one, and we will touch base on this a little bit later. I want to come back to this, but what I'm curious about, okay, right now there's like certain conditions on the market. It's basically like turbulence out there, and how does this affect your strategy as Mellow, and especially your day-to-day work? Isn't it easier or harder for you, especially building on the bear market than on the bull one?
It's of course, harder in many ways because the attention of the audience and and liquidity in general is somewhere else. So right now it's obviously AI. Retail is massively kind of turned into this direction. So everyone is playing around with it. On the other hand, for Mellow itself and like huge DeFi plays, not a lot has changed with the slowness of the market, with the slowdown, because the projects are just so big that they require multi-month execution, and you just can't stop because Bitcoin is going down. You won't do that because that means when the Bitcoin is up, you are not ready. You will need to start all over again. Those entities, and the general niche is living in a different life cycles, I would say, which are kind of much longer. It has its own downsides, of course, because every launch takes some time. But on the other hand, it's much more stable, which is cool.
Got it. And coming back to the point of you mentioning that now, like with all of new tech and so on, even a guy with $3 in USDT, for example, can buy like a share of S&P 500, for example. So I mean, everybody talking the RWAs integrations, like autonomous yield strategies, like it's like a real revolution going on. or is it just next hype cycle? We'll see. But you were literally building the infrastructure this stuff would run on. So what do you actually think is coming? So what was the new 2026 up to? I don't know, whatever year
that's a great
going to look like.
I think the RWAs are definitely the closest one. You're right, we heard about them for the longest time, but I think the reason behind that is real world is very, very regulated place if you want to work with certain assets and do classic finance. You need to have a lot of permissions. You need to go through a lot of jump through a lot of hoops. In other words. And crypto is not making it easier with the multinational format and globalization, take into account. Basically meaning you either need to choose like one specific country you work with, or you need to try to cover as many as possible, which is a hard stretch. But in the last few years, the progress was made. Everyone who were working on this legislative stuff, they finally were able to finalize it. So we on our side, we're already seeing an inflow of RWA deals incoming, like of different kinds, from commodities to mining opportunities, like real physical mining, when you basically LP on chain and you get a share of the miner with tracking and everything. When it's physically somewhere else. So I think that's going to be super exciting. I think it's going to be very diverse, and we will see like a lot of variations. Maybe that's going to be the next big thing for retail as well. Maybe they're going to be, this small play around mechanic as we usually have for serious tech to test the waters. I'm not a big believer in AI optimizations because crypto is just too specific. It's such a niche place. I already saw models that can do something decent, that can do decent research or a decent deep dive into the code, but it's still far away. Let's see what Mythos can provide us, but they already restricted the security research basically, which is a huge miss. Yeah, we'll see. A lot of plays are happening around AI optimization. Personally, I think we're still like some time away from that to be really efficient and to be something of matter. So RWAs are our next stables, and this conjunction of classical like payment businesses like Stripe and PayPal and everyone else doing crypto. That's gonna be a very huge niche, not for retail, I guess, but it's going to change a lot of businesses for pretty fast.
Quite agree with you on that. Yeah, Roman, and as a kind of one of the final points of our discussion, I'm usually doing like a briefs. So it's going to be short questions. Answers can be short, either long. Sure. No worries about it. But generally speaking, it's brief. So, Roman, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Bitcoin.
Why?
Ultimate, unique store of value, incredible market narrative. Ethereum is like I'm Ethereum maxi, but it still has a room to fail. Kinda, it's still in the play, it's still developing. So we'll see what happens with Ethereum. A huge believer in 10 to 15 years, but it is not as monumental as the Bitcoin that brought all of us here, I would say.
Quite agree with you. And as a growth specialist previously, so looking 2-3 years ahead, where do you see the projects going to be acquiring massive growth? Is it still going to be, I'm talking Web3, is it still going to be Twitter or something else, doing podcasts or maybe
Good
something
question.
absolutely different?
I hope that there would be enough fundamental value provided by a Medium crypto project that they will be able just to sell it via the classic channels of marketing, like ads. Because if you can measure the result and you can measure the input you put into the ads, you can make money out of it, and that's how most of the businesses work. Right now, we're seeing only the biggest centralized exchanges doing that, unfortunately. And I think there's like a lot in between, but ultimately that's gonna be the biggest channel for the distribution. In terms of community, I definitely think like we're gonna stay on X, on Twitter, because it's a quite unique platform right now.
Yeah, and plus AI now, so
yeah.
It's getting hyped.
For the win.
It's getting hyped.
Yeah.
Exactly. Roman, and imagine if today you need to place all of your personal wealth in one sector in Web3, what would it be?
Something around stable coins or RWAs or general yield infrastructure. Like all those great apps like Morpho and all others, Aave and all others. I think they're gonna stay for a long time. They gonna become even more serious, more institutionalized. They will get all the licenses and everything needed, and they will grow definitely, which is basically already kind of, validated by the yesterday's round of Morpho they got. So
yeah, exactly. And last one, I promise. So Roman, imagine for all of the guys, people, enthusiasts, crypto enthusiasts watching us today, from your background, from your knowledge that you acquired through the years, so what would be one piece of advice you're gonna give to the younger generation who just getting started in crypto, wanna work or maybe build their own business? Would love to hear that.
Just try things. Don't be, ashamed. Embrace the cringe. The crypto is the perfect, space to do that because, as I mentioned, people here are very, very diverse with different backgrounds. No one gonna bet an eye on the weirdest shit you're gonna try, right? And that's the secret, basically. Always iterate. Always try new things. If you have an idea, don't keep it in your head. You have the best tooling available right now. It wasn't the case even 2 years ago, 1 year ago. You have Claude, you can chat GPT, and you can try to realize them at least to the level of the MVP, and then it would be massively easier to show and talk and discuss and try to grow it. Even if you fail, it's gonna be incredible experience. You will learn so much from all of that. That will make you stronger. So just do things. That's the advice.
Exactly, Roman. Quite agree with you on that, because I believe that entirety of sentient life, that evolution built through billions of years on planet Earth was made with only one tool, the mistake. So guys, make mistakes, make your own mistake, what's more important, and let's keep it up. It was Roman, and Roman, pleasure. Thank you for joining me today. It was super insightful. I think we already covered most of the crypto world in this 30-minute interview, and definitely thank you. Something you want to add on top?
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Appreciate you. See you guys. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next video.